Good day.
Welcome to Good Day on All Day. This morning it's all about co-parenting. It can be tricky, but it doesn't necessarily have to be all that complicated. We are joined by a Minnesota author who is writing the book on co-parenting. Alysha Price, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you.
We love this topic because, let's be honest, there's a lot of people who are dealing with this and a lot of people who don't know the path to go. So if you are in the thick of it, maybe you're in the middle of a separation or you've gone through a divorce, and your first thing really, if you have children, is to set out that parenting plan. Yes. What is your advice for folks who are just starting that process and how to navigate this new reality for them?
Yes, because it will become a new normal. I think the very first thing in creating a parenting plan is to find a neutral party that can support you in doing so. If you're able to negotiate with one another and create a plan together, kudos to you, right? You're halfway there. But there are mediators that are able to help with that. There are a lot of free resources around mediation. And so finding a neutral third party to help navigate some of those conversations so you don't fall into the routine or the pattern of how you communicated in the relationship, it's going to be really, really helpful to have someone to help do that.
Because feelings are involved.
Yes.
This is not just cut and dry.
Yes.
And how do you not let the feelings mess up or mucky up the process?
So the thing is, we want to pay attention to the fact that we do have feelings. A lot of times we try to hide them, and I would absolutely tell people, do not try to hide how you're feeling. It is important to go through those emotions so that you can move to the next phase and stage. But you have to figure out when the best place and the best time is to express those feelings. So, you know, sometimes people want to hide how they're feeling from their children. And I would advise that that's not always the best thing, because they may be feeling down or a little bit upset about what's happening with the transition in the family. And so we want to normalize that there can be some hurt, there can be some upset about the transition in the family, but you have to do it at the right time and in the right place. So journaling is important. Talking with a safe person in your family, having a support system, and maybe even stepping outside of family situations because they may be repeating some generational cycles that we've seen.
Sure.
So finding a safe place to express those feelings is really important.
We know that people who are in this world are coming in from so many different elements, different situations, different setups. Some are divorced, some are single, some are co-parenting already, and something has changed. Maybe a new person has come into the life, or you know, people are moving out of state, or all of this. How do you factor in that while also factoring people parent differently?
Yes.
You know, maybe you've got the strict parent, maybe you have the cool mom who does anything goes. How do you factor in all of that?
Yes, because there are so many different elements, right? And then children grow, right? And so they're changing while we're changing, and we're adding new people to our lives. I think a really important thing is to come up with a family model or mantra, thinking about what your values are, your core values are as a family. Things are going to change, but if you have a cornerstone, a space that you can always land on and say, you know what, as a family, we have committed to this, we've decided this, it really helps you to pull yourself back. And sometimes it's difficult to get to that place to really decide on something like a core values for your family, but it's extremely important to then decide on your personal values, right? What you will do and you won't do, what you will accept and not accept. The non-negotiables are extremely important, and they help to set boundaries. So a really important thing is becoming clear with your own personal values and boundaries so that you're safe and that you're consistent. Consistency is key in making a lot of these shifts and changes.
I would imagine it depends on the age of the children, but should they be part of the process, or should they be kind of on the outside looking in?
They should absolutely be a part of the process. Now, to what degree, depending on their maturity and how they're handling the divorce, separation, or transition in family, those things need to be, you know, definitely looked at. But they should not be a bystander. They are going to feel what you're feeling. They're going to look to you to understand how to feel. And if they don't have a safe space to express those emotions, then they will do that at school, they will do that with friends, and then they're actually picking up on the behaviors that you're not so happy with and that you don't want happening, and then they do it when they get in a relationship or a marriage. So it's important to make sure they feel a part of the process because they're a part of the family.
You have gone through this process. You wrote a book called
Yes.
It's Not Complicated. Some folks would be like, yeah, it's complicated. How do we make it not complicated?
Yes.
What's your response to that when
Yes.
people say,
Yep.
I don't know what her situation
My
was?
thing really is that it's not complicated when you think about your role as a parent. When you're stuck in the space of the individual or the relationship or what didn't go how you wanted it to go, that complicates things. But when you think about how important your children are to you and their safety and their stability and creating the best environment for them to flourish, it becomes so simple.
Sure.
It is really not complicated in that space. And so that's the approach that I took. It was really important to me to make sure that my son saw me in my best light. And that meant respecting myself, which then allowed me to respect my co-parent.
Sure. I think it's one of those things you always say, I'm going to put the kid first, but maybe when you're in the trenches or when the emotions are there, maybe you're not. And I would imagine too that this is an evolving process.
Yes.
The co-parenting method looks different from day 100% to year 5. How often should you be re-examining it, looking at this, talking about this?
I think it's important to think of your co-parenting plan or style the same way that you would think about going to the dentist. Any type of health care that you're on the up and up about, right? You have these normal routine checkups, and you should treat your co-parenting dynamic or relationship the exact same way. Your children are growing at such a fast pace. They're exposed to so many outside factors through friends and school and social media and television that it's important to always check in with them on what they're feeling or thinking about how their family has even changed and what someone may have said to them about how their family is changing. So you can't just plan and push it away. You have to be dealing with these things on sometimes a quarterly basis, sometimes it's nightly. And having that flexibility to do so is really important.
You've mentioned you've kind of gone into the coaching because things change. You said nightly.
Yes.
I mean, something pops up that may not be in this plan. A sleepover request, all of a sudden, introducing a new girlfriend or Thanksgiving comes up.
Yes.
How do you navigate that, and what's the best approach to the constant changes?
Yeah, for some families, they're able to, be flexible, right? But for others, there is a very strict parenting plan that they must follow. And I would advise families in the latter for sure to follow that plan. And what you need to do is make sure that your children understand that there is a plan that we have to follow. And so then there's a safe place for them to communicate when that plan does not work for them. You may communicate that through an attorney or follow up with a mediator to update that plan, but it's really important to stick to the plans that you have created. As life happens, you're going to discuss it, but that doesn't mean that you throw your plan away. Right? You need to communicate about the new people in your life or the Thanksgiving plans that have changed. Maybe dinner was at 4 last year, but this year it's at 6, right? And so that's where the flexibility comes into play. So we have to think of these things in real categories and buckets, and then think about how flexible will you be in each one of those categories or buckets. And that's where those non-negotiables come into play.
Sure. Flexible, but also staying true to yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you think is the biggest mistake people make when co-parenting?
The biggest mistake is allowing new relationships to take precedence over their family. So if you've already created a family dynamic and then you let a new person come into that family dynamic and change all of what it is, that is the biggest mistake. It's the quickest way to lead to resentment, the quickest way to make your co-parent feel like they now have to exert a certain amount of control over you, the quickest way to make your children not be happy about this new person in your life. And that new person may simply want to be a part of the family, but you're avoiding how to introduce them. You're avoiding conversations about it, and it just makes it hard for everyone. That is one of the major things I see happening.
Yeah. The topics are endless. We could spend an entire hour with you. Where can people find resources, your information?
Absolutely. The book is at AlyshaPrice.com. And then there's also my organization called The Price Dynamic that does support with coaching, supervised visitation, and parent education. So thepricedynamic.com as well.
Alysha, thank you so much.
Thank
you. It was a pleasure chatting with you about this. We know it's something that a lot of people are navigating in this new world.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now back to All Day.